They laughed. When a black girl asked to shoot, then she shattered every military record. They said she didn't belong there. A young black girl in oversized fatigues, standing among seasoned soldiers with years of experience, drew laughter the moment she asked to join the shooting range. To them, it was a joke, a fragile girl trying to fit into a man's world built on sweat, rank, and steel. But that laughter would soon fade into stunned silence. What began as mockery would turn into the most talked-about moment in baseball history. This moment would challenge everything they believed about race, talent, and determination. This is the story of how one girl's courage redefined what was possible. The military base sat in the middle of the desert, a world of dust, heat, and discipline. Every day began with shouts, drills, and the rhythmic thud of boots on the ground. Among the hundreds of trainees stood Amara Lewis, a 17-year-old cadet who had joined the academy under a scholarship program for exceptional students of color. She was smaller than most, quiet, and often overlooked. To many, she was just a symbol, the diversity recruit. To others, she was a target for skepticism. Her superiors questioned whether she could handle the demands of military life. Her peers whispered behind her back, saying she'd never make it through the physical exams, let alone the firearms test. But what no one knew was that Amara had spent years studying physics, wind patterns, and focus control. Her late father, a veteran sharpshooter, had taught her precision not with expensive weapons, but with patience and observation. When the time came for the base's elite marksmanship trials, Amara raised her hand and asked to compete. The request echoed through the briefing hall, followed by laughter. The colonel smirked and said she could try, but warned her not to embarrass herself. What they didn't know was that Amara wasn't there to prove her worth to them. She was there to honor her father's memory and to prove that excellence knows no color. The morning of the test arrived with a dry wind sweeping across the range. Soldiers lined up, rifles gleaming under the harsh sun. They whispered, amused at the sight of Amara standing among them, her rifle nearly the length of her arm. The rules were simple: 10 shots, 5 targets, increasing distance. Accuracy determined everything. The first soldier went, a seasoned marksman, hitting 8 out of 10. Applause rippled through the ranks. The next few followed, scores ranging from 7 to 9. Then it was Amara's turn. As she stepped forward, someone muttered, "Careful, don't drop it." A few chuckled. The colonel folded his arms, watching with thinly veiled doubt. Amara took a deep breath. The world seemed to fade, the laughter, the whispers, the heat. All she could hear was the soft hum of the wind. She adjusted her scope, remembering her father's words. "You don't aim to impress. You aim to understand." Her first shot cracked through the silence. Direct hit, center target. The smirks faded slightly. The second, third, and fourth followed, each one more precise than the last. By the 7th shot, even the colonel had leaned forward. As she reloaded for her final round, the base had gone entirely silent. The last target was a near impossible distance. One even seasoned SEALs had missed. She inhaled deeply, feeling the weight of every doubt ever thrown her way. Then she pulled the trigger. The bullet cut through the air, a faint metallic ping echoing seconds later. Bullseye. The colonel's jaw tightened. Soldiers exchanged stunned looks. Amara didn't smile. She simply lowered her weapon, saluted, and walked off the range. But the murmurs didn't stop there. Over the following weeks, her results were verified, retested, and re-verified. No one could believe it. She hadn't just matched the base's record, she had surpassed it by an impossible margin, breaking multiple SEAL-level shooting records. And yet, the recognition didn't come easy. Some said it was luck. Others claimed it was staged. But Amara stayed silent. She let her results speak louder than prejudice ever could. 2 months later, the colonel organized a demonstration to prove her skill once and for all. The event drew everyone on base. Cameras, recruits, and officers gathered to watch, some hoping she'd fail, others quietly rooting for her victory. They handed her a rifle specially calibrated for elite snipers, one even veterans struggled to master. The colonel gave a small, mocking nod and said, "Show us what you've got, cadet." Amara positioned herself, her calmness unnerving even the most confident shooters. The first target fell, then the second, then the third. Every single one was hit with the same impossible accuracy. But the final test wasn't about distance. It was about endurance. 10 shots, 10 moving targets, wind speeds shifting unpredictably. It was designed to break concentration, to expose weakness. Yet as she fired, it became clear she wasn't just hitting targets. She was dismantling generations of doubt, one bullet at a time. When the last target dropped, the colonel removed his cap. No one spoke. The silence carried more weight than any applause could. For the first time, they didn't see a black girl trying too hard. They saw a soldier, one who had rewritten the meaning of precision, focus, and resilience. The story of Amara Lewis spread far beyond the desert base. News outlets called her the sharpshooter who redefined the range. Cadets who once ignored her now stood in awe when she passed. But for Amara, the victory wasn't about fame or records. It was about breaking an invisible wall, the quiet racism that hides behind polite smiles and lowered expectations. She once stood in front of a crowd that laughed at her dream. Now, she stood before a nation that couldn't stop talking about her strength. Months later, during a graduation ceremony, the colonel who once mocked her handed her a commendation medal. He didn't apologize. He didn't need to. His silence, his changed expression, said everything. As Amara looked across the rows of young recruits, she saw faces of all colors and backgrounds, some inspired, some still doubtful. And she smiled, knowing that every shot she fired wasn't just a bullet. It was a message that talent does not race. That courage needs no permission. Her name became a quiet anthem in the halls of military training centers, whispered as proof that greatness comes from grit, not skin tone. And as the sun set over the base that once laughed at her, one question lingered for everyone who watched her rise. How many more dreams have we silenced before they ever got the chance to prove themselves?